Please stand for pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The review and approval of minutes are online, and we'll hand it over to you.
Okay. So the first thing on our agenda is the old business DJC. I did leave this under old business. I have not talked to Brandon Bowl again, but since our last meeting, I think we were going to wait to see if the report came in. We have an update. Do you have any sense of that came in? I know he's not here today right now to speak to it.
Yes, but very preliminarily, it's going to, it's not in its finalist.
Okay, so
For recommendations.
I think we're just gonna continue to hold on to that, if that's okay. All right, so we can move on to new business, if that's all right. So the first one that we can talk about on our list is GBN, disqualification of job applicants for criminal convictions.
Yeah, I've got a lot to say about this one. First of all, I looked up, it first came up last December and we had tabled it at that time. What?
I'm here for the policy subcommittee meeting.
Okay, come on up.
Oh,
Apparently I'm in charge of the doorbell since we don't have anybody here.
After hours, yeah.
I didn't miss that.
Sorry, go ahead. Apologize.
Oh, no, I was just saying, it had come up last December and we had tabled it. And I think I must have missed the January meeting. And it showed up at the January subcommittee meeting. It showed up on the school committee meeting for January as, and it got tabled. And then in February, it was under second, readings, but it was labeled as a first, and somehow it got passed because I don't think it should have been passed in the first place. And I think it still needs to be tabled for further study. And here's a whole bunch of reasons why. First of all, the law. There are some legal references here. And none of these legal references apply to employees. They apply to BCI checks for prospective employees. So to have the employees down here on this policy is inappropriate per the legal references. I looked them all
Down at
up.
the very bottom of the second page, right?
Yeah.
Those legal records,
Yeah.
not in the top. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
All of those, I looked them all up.
Yep.
They all have to do with BCI checks. And they all have to do with, new hires
Yes.
or people applying. So it's inappropriate to have any of this other stuff down here.
And the language used to just apply to new hires, correct?
Yeah,
Well, it looked like the last one we had that we were revising had a combination of both the applicants and the actual employees all in one, if we go back to that. The difference in this one is obviously what you can see with the underline, but also the topic titles in organization. It was sort of all blended together last time, and this is just calling out this top portion as the applicant for employment.
right. But based on the legal references, current employees don't even belong under this policy.
So you're thinking that
Well,
separating them out?
Well, that would bring me to my next point where it doesn't even belong under policy. Because if you are an employee, you're under contract. And certainly WISE and WTU have contracts. And so, anything to do with such kind of discipline or whatnot falls under contract language and doesn't belong in a policy. And in fact, I know the WTU contract, there are a couple of articles, 8-3 has to do with summonses. And, Article 10 has to do with teacher protection. And in fact, there is a provision in there already about what happens if somebody were to be arrested. So we already have contract language, and this, anything to do with employee being arrested or whatnot doesn't belong in a policy since it's already in contract.
Is that exact language in the contract in terms of like having them required to let human resources know? Is there anything that's different?
Well, I'll tell you, because that comes under
Kristen,
teacher protection. And it's just getting my glasses here. Because getting old, can't see so well. So it's actually Article 10-2.3. In the event that a teacher is accused and or questioned and or investigated by any police agency or any other governmental investigatory agency, FBI, state or federal grand jury, for any job-related criminal matters, misdemeanor and or felony, the school committee shall reimburse the teacher for reasonable legal fees incurred if, one, no charges were made although the teacher was investigated and or questioned. Two, the charges or charge was or were subsequently dropped although the teacher was charged and or arrested and the investigative body verifies in writing or orally that no charges will be brought against the teacher. Three, the matter is adjudicated, but the case is filed for 1 year, and after the filing period is completed, the charges are in fact dismissed. And four, the teacher has notified the superintendent of schools and or his designee within 24 hours of being notified by a police or other investigatory agency that he or she is under investigation, questioning, arrest, or indictment for any job-related.
Yeah,
criminal
job
matters.
related,
So
correct.
there's the key right there,
Yes.
job-related. In here, it's just like random, so somebody
No,
has
this
a
is-
moving violation and gets
Correct.
pulled over, you know, and
Even a DUI arrest on, say, a Saturday, say you were arrested for DUI, you have to go to traffic court or whatever, you're found guilty, you have to pay a fine. No accident, no injury, no anything, just, went out of your lane without a blinker or whatever, and they pulled you over and you're arrested for DUI. You're saying in this policy, we are not at work, this is a Saturday, this could be over the summer for some workers that don't work any other time, but we have to notify HR that we were found guilty of a misdemeanor.
It's ludicrous.
That has nothing to do with work whatsoever.
So there is another example I would bring up, and that's some sort of crime that I would say brings into question whether or not that person is suitable to be around students.
Mm.
So,
But it wouldn't be a misdemeanor, I would assume. Do you have an
No, you're-
example of a misdemeanor?
because there's misdemeanor in
And
here,
felony in here that we have
and
to
it's not
report.
job related, and what Tracy's saying is
So you'd
not
agree with
job
felony?
related.
So,
like if you were charged with a potential felony.
well,
But it,
sure, and I think that was the language before.
Okay.
I mean,
I think the blind spot though, and I don't disagree with
a
actually what you're
misdemeanor
saying,
off,
but I
duty
think the,
time.
yeah, I think the blind spot, and I
Could be
think what
possible
we're
time.
trying to figure out, and maybe this isn't right to figure
This
out,
is not
but the
right.
blind spot is I become a teacher 22 years ago, and I get my state and national BCI check, and I'm good, I'm clean. And then during my last 20-something years, there's things on my record that pop up that I've done wrong, and things pop up in my record we don't re-BCI people every year. We don't re-BCI people after their initial BCI. And so sometimes we get questioned, why is this person employed by you when they have a record? And we're like, a record? We didn't know. The news does a good job of like putting up, people every now and then, but there might be people that fly under the radar we don't know about. And I think all this is trying to do is figure out a way to capture the folks that have gotten in trouble post BCI and letting the school department know, germane to what Brandon's saying, is things especially that relate to kids. And I think that's what's trying to be focused on here.
and I agree with that. I think.
So however we can do that is.
Yeah, I do think the way that it is worded here, it's inclusive of everything.
Right.
At any time of the school, whether you're in school, you're out of school, it's a Saturday or a Sunday or on your own time. And when we're talking about misdemeanors, the chances are it does not have to do with anything that has to do with children.
Mhm.
Or a risk to children, or that's typically would be a felony charge. And then to expect
Mhm.
2,000 employees or however many employees we have to self-report within 24 hours, or if oopsie, I went through a red light and I got caught and I got fined and it was a misdemeanor and I had to go to court and I didn't tell HR within 24 hours, I potentially could be terminated.
I don't think that's
That's
a
the
spirit.
problem.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually the
Well,
spirit.
that's
I think
Well, I don't think it's the
I think-
spirit
I
of it,
think
but I
it's
don't
like
think it's the door
I
to
think
it.
it's like a domestic or a child endangerment
I
or
agree,
something like
and I'm
that. That also
sure-
happens on a Saturday.
Correct.
That I think the school department really wants to know about.
Yes.
So they're not blindsided and
I
when the red
understand
people
that.
are in front of kids.
But this is a big door being
Yeah.
opened.
It does specifically spell out that you have the right to an appeal, if there is a termination or something, which would be.
I
Well, by the
know,
law, you have a
but
right to appeal anyway,
Right.
but it's
And you always
absolutely
do.
ridiculous.
So I brought this to the table
Yeah.
because this happened.
Yeah.
The appeal happened and we're like, whoa, we need to look at this policy because it seems kind of harsh for what was presented.
And it is very harsh. And that
And to get the
brings me
word out to
back,
all those employees that they have to self-report, do you know how many people don't read emails? A lot of custodians out there that do not have access to emails.
that is true.
They don't have a computer, they don't have.
That is true.
You know,
We
But
do have a lot of employees that.
But I'm on your
custodians-
side that I feel like we still need a safety net.
Yeah, there's just something
Yeah.
in between, I think.
like a
I think there's
work-related,
something,
child
yeah. I mean,
related.
there's something between the traffic light violation
Correct.
and nothing.
Yeah,
That we
this
need
is
to
just a
figure
big
out.
umbrella
As,
that I'm a
and,
little concerned about.
right, as currently written, it's over the top. And as I pointed out
Yeah, it
from the
needs to be tightened
start,
up.
your legal references don't even apply.
It
Those
only
legal
applies to
references
BCI.
only apply to people, looking for employment. And in fact, if we look under applicants for employment, under the new underlying language in the big middle in the second paragraph there, it says any job applicant charged with a felony. Well, really, it should be rephrased to someone applying for a job, not just job applicant, because I can foresee, because I've been around enough lawyering, for someone to read job applicant as any employee, because at one point we were all job applicants, right? So I, having been around long enough now, see something like this and say, I know of a lawyer or two who could make hay with this. And so I would even want that rephrased to someone applying for a job. And so we got a lot of problems with this.
You're gonna tweak it and tighten it up.
Reminds me of George Costanza with festival. I got a lot of problems with this.
I mean, even if it's to the point where Bill might smack me for this, I'm not sure, but, we shall see. I mean, every year we get a flu shot, we get a BCI check. I don't know, and you guys pay for it. I don't know, but that would be a way for you to know if anybody got arrested, is to have I mean, I've been here for 20 years. I haven't had a BCI check in 20 years.
Right.
I also have not been convicted of a felony or misdemeanor in that time. But, I mean, you could do that.
They didn't do such a thing that way.
Maybe people have BCI checks, I guess, randomly, every 5 years, every year. I don't know. But I understand the spirit of it. It's just the way it's worded. It's pretty broad, like a misdemeanor.
And harsh.
On your off time, and you have 24 hours, and if you don't, somebody could be in a bad mood and all of a sudden just say, yeah, you didn't tell us in 24 hours. You didn't tell us at all because it didn't cross my mind. So, I'm sorry, you're fired.
And then I also.
And I get-
You have protections though. That's.
Well, I get that you could appeal it, but it's
And then
pretty mortifying as a 20-year employee to have an incident over a weekend that's a misdemeanor and you don't think it's a big deal, and then all of a sudden they're saying you're terminated. I mean, that's pretty extreme.
That comes with paid administrative leave. You're out of work on paid administrative leave. You're not guilty,
Or
but
unpaid.
everybody thinks you are.
Yeah, it's
That is the worst
not
thing.
okay.
I
To have to defend
represent,
yourself for
and
something. that-
Tracy represents people all the time who get put on paid administrative leave because of some ridiculous allegation that's later proven false. And yet they sit there and their reputation is ruined.
Correct.
And they're meanwhile having this sort of Damocles over them up to and including termination. So as I said, our contract, and I don't know the WISE contract, but there's probably something in there that already provides for anything job related.
So can I
And-
ask this question then? Is this a policy that you would like to start to tweak right now? Or would
No.
you like to sit with it and like we need to
It needs,
refine it?
it needs to be tabled because it needs to be if you want a policy for people applying for a job, that's what all of your legal references
Separate it
refer
out
to.
Or just remove. it?
Nothing, yeah, you need to remove, the employees.
New hires is
actual
one thing, but
employees
class
for this.
employees.
So that sounds like two policies?
It sounds, well, it sounds like like I said, the contract already covers people who are employed. And I can't
Well,
speak for
for work- for
administrators.
For work related, that's
Work
the only
related,
thing.
yeah.
We'll have to go back, like, because I could see us keeping maybe misdemeanor is the piece that we're having the most trouble with, but the felony piece, I think we really need to be very careful
Yeah,
about.
I-
We have to have.
No, I-
24-hour
yeah,
notice.
no, I-
We need to
Like
go
a
through.
child endangerment may not be work related, but it's something.
Well,
Oh,
there's
well,
that.
that's, no, but that's definitely
But
work
that's-
related.
Oh,
Anything
yeah.
that has to do with children, I would say that's work.
I
And
agree
that's
with
what
you, yes. so
That's
good.
true.
Okay, so
But-
maybe it's defining what's work related, because you might
Yeah.
cover all the concerns.
Yeah, that's,
Right.
well, that's why this requires a
No,
lot more than sitting here right now and changing it. And I also want to go back to one of my earlier points about process. Because it was tabled at the January school committee meeting. Then at the February school committee meeting, I have the agenda in here. It was listed under second readings, but it was actually had first reading next to it. So did it actually go through a first and second reading if it was tabled in January and then approved in February? So this might not even be a valid policy right now. So I'm
Yeah,
glad,
it sounds like it was
that you
tabled
have-
and it should have been a first reading.
yeah, that
Yeah.
February meeting should have been a first reading, and therefore the date on here as February 15th shouldn't even, it shouldn't exist. So I thank you for bringing this back, for whatever you noticed it was like harsh, because it caused me to look at all the records again and see that it was a first reading in February, it should never even have passed under second reading. So I don't know,
Maybe during the transition.
Yeah, agreed.
something got confused or
Yeah.
whatever. So this thing needs to be, I would say, pulled right now.
This and the next policy.
As a
That needs to
policy.
be-
With dates.
That needs to be confirmed with somebody, probably Teresa, whoever took the minutes from those schools.
Well, I have the minutes right here. I'll pull them out.
There are records.
We have them right here. Here's January 9th, 2024. And we have, under adoption of policies, our little friend, GBN tabled. Says it right here for January.
So
And then-
February 15th, it shouldn't have been passed.
Right, then February 15th, it's under adoption of policies, it says second read. And then under GBN, it says first read. So how did it get passed as a first read, even though it was listed under second read in
Because somebody did a
February?
typo and made a mistake.
And
It was
that's-
tabled.
And all it says is all of the above second read policies moved by Mr. Testa, seconded by Ms. Backus, approval, motion passed. That's all it says. There's nothing else that's.
Yes, it was, you made a mistake.
Okay. All right, so we'll pull that, hold on to it, rework it. I can pull the group together to kind of, talk about the issues that are with the language and the employee contract, but, try to kind of come back together with that one.
Yeah, there's like, I said, there's a whole lot of problems, and thank you, Michelle, for bringing that, because it is now giving us the opportunity to go back and do it properly. And if there are any laws about employees reporting within 24 hours, then maybe we should see those, and not all, because I looked and I've got the laws right here. I've got them right here, and they all have to do with prospective employees and BCI checks. Has nothing to do with current employees.
All right. If it's okay, I'm going to move on to the next policy. This is JBV. That is the transgender gender nonconforming and transitioning students. This was a topic at our last meeting to kind of come back and review this and kind of look at this in the lens of equity. I think you're concerned.
But I was also asked by Andrew to table it for this month. He said, we can start discussion if we like, but as far as passing it on,
All right.
we're gonna have to wait till next month.
Okay. I do have a question on it though, before we table it, just about these dates that the fact we adopted and then reviewed, because this says adopted 8/28/2018. Now, I went, because I've been on this maybe much longer than that. And I went back and looked at my paperwork and I looked at the agendas for June, July, August, September of 2018. This was listed as a protocol. This was never listed as a policy. It was listed as a protocol. And even on the agenda at the school committee where it says it was adopted in that August, it was listed as a Warwick Public School protocol. It wasn't listed as a policy. So I don't know if anyone wants to go back and look at that. And this reviewed June 11th, 2024. I don't have any agenda for May, June, or July, or August that lists this at all. As a
I don't
review.
either, Tracy. I don't either. I
Yeah,
don't-
because I went back and looked. You can look it up.
Well, is it
That was,
policy? This is
yeah,
the first time
that's
we're
June,
reviewing it.
but I mean, the date's on here and it's not on any of our agendas.
There's a.
Okay.
it says-
But I did go back to 2018 and it was listed as
Yeah,
a
we didn't
protocol,
touch it.
not a policy.
Right, and that I don't, the only thing I wonder is I know that Anne was in the process of getting rid of like, what was the other wording that we combined, was it
Well, there was some
an
redundant,
R? It begins with an R.
redundant.
No, there was like, do you know the word I'm thinking of? She combined, not combined, but she eliminated certain things.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but it was another term, I'm sorry, I can't think of the word.
Now, we, at
Anyway.
all those meetings, we did say things were redundant.
Yeah,
And we're not like,
redundant, and
but
then,
things should be protocol, things should be policy. Because my question is, why would this be policy?
Yeah.
We're talking about an isolated group of individuals that's like, what is the percentage of transgender students that we have where they need their own policy? I could see protocol and how we behave on a daily basis and definitions and how, but on policy, for one tiny segment of the population, I know that when we talked about protocol, a lot of it had to do with legal issues. And people filing lawsuits and there being legal issues and they're concerned about that.
Yeah.
I completely agree with everything that's written in the protocol, but I'm just wondering why we want to call it a policy.
unless we were somewhere asked to create a policy.
I don't know, because in 2018, it is on the school committee agenda as a protocol.
All right, well, we'll look into that.
And so that's all, just moving forward. Because what's in there, I agree with all of it. I think it's fine. I think it's great, but I'm just wondering the reasoning. That's all.
I don't know, well, that's not another thing, protocols, I don't know, I haven't seen that, that's like not, the word that I'm trying to think of is an actual word that she had a whole file that like she eliminated, like we don't use this anymore. It was policy versus maybe procedures, I don't know.
Procedures?
I don't know.
Well, we had for a number of years, school committee policy and regulations.
Yeah,
Regulations.
Superintendent regulations, and going back 15 or even 20 years at this point, there was a movement to try to combine, and
Okay.
remove the regulations and make things policy, and the regulations really were more
Mm.
protocol or procedure as opposed to regulation.
I mean,
So that's
you know,
what this really is.
I don't think I can pull it up right now, but I did go back and I searched and I did find a school committee agenda and it said
Said
protocol.
protocol.
And it was this meeting. It was this August 28th, 2018 school committee meeting. So, and I looked the months before and after too, and I didn't see first and second readings and I don't know. And then the review didn't show up at all
I
in
don't
this committee
recall a
or
review.
anywhere else. So I don't know who reviewed it. But it
Towards
wasn't
us.
this committee.
What, yeah, I don't know, I'm just speculating, so I wouldn't know.
Weren't we-
Wasn't on the agenda.
Did not do.
Nope. Not
I
me.
wonder-
Under reviewed
Under reviewed
policies,
policies,
meaning no
that's
changes.
what I was wondering.
This particular policy, whatever we want to call it, was not listed on any agenda May, June, July, August, that whole summer. And the spring, that whole time, because I looked, I thought, maybe it was on the month before and the date is on the review. I couldn't find it anywhere. So. I
Did it
don't
go
know.
to
I mean,
school
maybe it's
committee?
there and I just couldn't find it.
So I never went to school committee.
Cause usually it was a.
Well, in
grid-
2018, it was listed on
I
a
can
school
look
committee
back.
agenda, but it was listed as a protocol. It was not
That
listed
I've never
as a
even seen that,
policy.
that word. in
No,
here
I
for
know,
files.
and that's how it was listed. So I don't know.
Neither.
But I do remember originally talking about this and wondering why, and there was a discussion about legalities.
And then
I
to
just wanted to
Paul's point,
clarify.
there was always a review folder that nothing happened
Like a
to them.
link.
They just were looked at. So I wonder if it lived in that. We had.
Maybe, but I've never seen it listed on a document as reviewed if it hadn't come before this committee.
Okay. I don't know. That's how I would see review too.
Yeah, so,
All right.
whatever, we're not gonna
And
talk about it now anyway. so-
One thing
Just
to know
moving forward.
before we move, whether it's protocol or whatever it is, it says Warwick School Department. We're known as Warwick Public Schools. It's a minor thing,
Okay.
but if we should go by our official term, which is WPS, Warwick Public Schools.
I know that too.
Does anyone know why we have a policy just for that small group of students?
I don't. I was just wondering if it kind of is one of those mandated policies that they ask us to create. There's at one point, I remember having something in hand that we had to make sure that we
It's
followed at school.
just that it
Yeah, I don't know.
isolates one particular group of people that just makes it seem not quite right.
We'll find out.
Okay.
We're not looking at other school districts. Cumberland has one specifically geared.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely,
Then there,
I
yeah,
feel
I'm
like we were
thinking there was some
required
kind of
to
a
have
legal issue
that's what I
around it.
remember, but I
Yeah.
have no idea.
That's kind of what
true.
I'm thinking, but I wasn't sure on
That
that,
we had to have one in place.
just to cover us for.
Because it is definitely everyone's policies and other districts. Okay, well, that was a lot of holds, but a lot of good conversation. The last one is a new draft of our artificial intelligence use. So a policy IJN. So if you would like, I mean, this is all brand new. I don't know if you all got a chance to kind of look through it. I'll give you a minute to get your bearings. Maybe you have some input.
Who wrote this one, Kristen?
So this one was drafted with Lisa, myself. Jeff was not there, but we did send it to Joe and Jeff for some input. It was sent to our legal and it is in it's under I for instruction. It's really thinking about it as a tool for enhancing instruction, so. And we definitely used other district policies that came before this.
Does this go hand in hand with the new program that we just brought on?
I think that's what you're thinking, Go Guardian?
That's
No.
The transgender.
What's that say?
been around a while.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not that, yeah.
new, but,
Was it the teacher teaching too? I think that was
Modern
AI.
teacher,
I think that had AI aspects to it, didn't it?
modern teacher.
Modern teacher.
We're doing that one.
There wasn't that
What's
kind of bring
using
AI into it?
Well,
A
so I
lot
mean,
of things,
yeah, and I
actually,
think,
believe it or not.
I guess I can just start because I might
Yeah.
answer the question. Is that, so you're noticing a lot of districts now, having to face AI, kind of head on. And I think this policy does a good job, even in the draft form. I'm sure we'll morph from here. But, AI is not bad. Okay, it's not like the evil AI.
Yeah.
But
It
it
can
needs
be.
to, yeah, certainly when not done, used ethically or used for discrimination or used for bad, for evil, then AI could be bad. And I think this policy tries to address like the right and wrong thing to do. Like Turn It In is a program that uses AI, obviously, to sense whether or not things are plagiarized or not. So forbid AI, you forbid Turn It In.
Yeah.
Begin, so that kind of is to Kristen's point, what uses AI behind the scenes? A lot of things. Now, when you search in Google, that's AI. And actually, the first thing that comes up at the top is the AI generated response from Google. So like to ban AI is to ban Google searches, to ban AI is to ban Turn It In, to ban AI is to ban GoGuardian, GoGuardian Beacon, the suicidal awareness based on search history, ban AI. Students are not going to be able, the GoGuardian will pick that up anymore, and you'll be at risk again for suicidal ideation and school violence, which is what that catches. Even the GoGuardian general product that teachers use and admins use, to sense what bad websites kids go to is AI, is all AI behind the scenes. So that's why I don't think you can just ban all AI, because the most of the things we rely on won't work anymore. But this does a nice job, at least as in the draft form. Like I said, it can be better certainly, but in the draft form, kind of shows us where to use it, where not to use it. A couple notes that I made was in section 6, the prohibited uses of AI, on the second to last page. Number 3, I'm fine with the unless required for security purposes, like we use our cameras to, we have act of violence and we place a photo in there to find, like that's AI obviously, but that is exempted for security purposes. I'd be a little concerned with the word monitoring, because Turn It In monitors, student work based on AI, GoGuardian monitors web searches based on AI. But be careful to prohibit monitoring, because that could be a path to prohibit some of the good uses that we use for AI. As far as the last piece on that page, the staff and educators' responsibilities, district administration responsibilities, as far as the approval process, this just fits into what we normally do for the approval process for any new technology. We're mostly concerned about, or entirely concerned about, student data privacy. So any tool, whether it's AI or not AI, or any product that the teachers use, when they say, hey, can I use this? We always make sure that there's kind of a decision tree. Does this include student data, yes or no? And if it does include student data, is there a signed legal student data privacy agreement, a DPA, that protects the student data in whatever platform you want to use? Name your favorite program, and make sure there's a DPA that's been signed by the Rhode Island Student Privacy, or facilitated signed by the Rhode Island Student Privacy Consortium. So that's how that works behind the scenes. So if a teacher said, hey, I want to use this program, AI or not, it's got to go through that decision tree to see if the student data is protected or not. That's going to happen anyway. So I don't think that is a problem, teachers using programs. It's a lot of good that can be used, but it's all about digital citizenship, teaching responsibility, when to use it, how to use it. Some grants that we write are in part generated from AI. So prohibit AI, we wouldn't get as many grants as we do, and teachers wouldn't be able to find lesson plan ideas and stuff like that. So that was just my comments on it. So I think it covers those types of things. It doesn't throw AI out the window, but puts in some safeguards.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to send it on yet. I would want more time to think.
Yes,
Okay.
I completely agree.
To make sure we've covered everything and
Yes.
things are phrased properly, but I think it's a very good first draft. One thing I noticed on the second page under number 6, prohibited uses of AI, I would like to see a number 5, plagiarism, like out and out using, whatever to write a paper.
So under section.
Under
right?
section
Number
6,
5.
prohibited uses of AI, yeah.
Mhm.
I'd like to, plagiarism is mentioned somewhere else under student
Yeah, the
uses,
last page.
but I'd like it like its own
Yeah.
prohibition, however we phrase
I
it,
agree. Mhm.
out and out plagiarism.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
then,
it's on the last page.
yeah, it's in there, it's kind of there, and then on the last page under students, the last bullet at the end, it's the paragraph about collaboration. They have, the last sentence is students should refrain from excessively relying on collaborative AI generated content. I would put students must refrain or shall refrain. Maybe shall, that's legally the stronger word.
Mhm.
Because, you know, it's one thing to say, you know, we adults who have our degrees and so on and so far, you know, might take some shortcuts. I do not, the only AI I've used is, to generate some weirdo artwork. You know, put in the perky purple platypus
Mhm.
playing pickleball with the squishy blue squid with a smile on his
Mhm.
face or whatever, and you get some wackiness. Or National Otter Day, who knew there was a World Otter Day? I put in giant robotic otter attacking a city. And so I got some neat AI generated
Mhm.
stuff. And then you could click on, oh, I want it in Art Deco, or I want it in watercolor. It asks you, do you want some people screaming in terror? Sure. People running from a giant robot, you know, but I refuse, I know some people are like, oh yeah, I use whatever to generate essay questions. No, I write my own. And so, but if you're an adult and you've already learned how to do things on your own, that's one thing. We can't let these kids take shortcuts with, AI here, letting them generate all their chat GPT or whatever.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a strong commitment that Dr. Schultz had when she was writing it, that it can't replace good decision making and researching what, it's a tool. So we can take some time with this and maybe come back together and have some language that we might want to add or change, but I made a note of the couple of things that you had there. Anything else with that? All right, so there are holds, which is perfectly fine.
Did you want to go back to, since Brandon's here?
Yeah, I think, do you mind if I ask you, I think Jeff kind of had the most updated for date, if they see about the report, instead it's in the preliminary stage.
Yeah, so again, I think we're probably tabling that
Oh,
until.
yeah.
That's what we figured. All right, so
Everything's on hold.
just to recap, we're waiting on the DJC. We're gonna hold GB and the disqualifications, really looking at that wording, being a little bit too harsh with some of the wording. JVB, transgender, gender nonconforming and transitioning students is held right now until the next meeting. And then IJN, artificial intelligence, will look at that more closely. That sound right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna turn it over to Kip.
Oh, turning it over to public comment.
Okay,
Hi, Jeff, question.
yeah, I have just couple comments. I watched the last meeting and before I start, so I wanted to just point out that the reason you have this policy for transgender students is because about naturally 5% of kids identify. It's not a very small minority at all. It's small, but it's important. They're also at the highest
No, I
risk.
think it's.
They're also at the highest risk for self-harm, suicidality, and many other, and being bullied and a bunch of other stuff. So a policy like this protects kids who are vulnerable. I would go back to when I was a child in Warwick, growing up here. We had 1 or 2 Black children in my entire little school, right? If we had a policy, which I wasn't aware of, I was a kid, but if we had a policy to protect them, people say, why would we protect even the 2 kids in this entire school? That's so ridiculous to have a policy. But of course, you would want to have a racial policy protect them. And of course, you want a policy protect your transgender, transitioning, and gender.
Yeah, just so you know that I don't disagree with this.
No, I heard
agree
you say
with
that.
every
I just
word
wanted
of
to
it.
bring up why you
Just-
have this policy.
just-
The other thing is that in 2018, RIDE came up with a policy. They worked with some of the best experts in the world to get that done. And they made one of the best policies of its kind in the entire world. It passed in many, many municipalities, including here apparently.
Okay.
This summer earlier, RIDE asked all the schools, districts to review the policy, which is quite like remembering from earlier in the year. Many school districts have done this. Cumberland did a great job on it. In fact, Cumberland is one of the developed that committee, that procedure, and did a great job on it. And it was used as one of the models for the procedure. Another one that did really well was, I might remember now, so sorry, get a little nervous when I speak. Last meeting, your committee discussed the Title IX exemptions. And after I saw that, I alerted some people, and I think it got to the ACLU, and I have a copy of the letter that I think they sent to all the school committee people. And you'll see that the Title IX policy does not, if you have a strong policy that the school has adopted, you don't have to worry about the Title IX injunctions because the policy as it exists protects all your schools. Even the 3 that have injunctions, doesn't really matter because they should have to prove to you in court if they want to take it further, but they're not, because they would have to have standing that it means having a trans student who was or a student who was being affected. And I'm not sure how that would work, but I don't think you really have to worry about it as much as you think. But it's in that letter, and there's other lawyers looking at it too. Polly Crozier from GLAD Defenders, DLA, whatever. Defenders is looking at it as well. We'll have more on this. I was very interested in what 3 schools had been given an injunction, but I haven't been able to track down yet. And I also wondered if more hadn't happened since then. I know there's similar efforts in Warren, Bristol, and I know there was a similar effort in Little Compton. Little Compton decided to basically say, yeah, we're not worried about the injunction and proceed from there. So that was my big concern. My other, and I will be at the next meeting as well. I think that you have to remember too that the Title IX is very separate from the policy that you're considering right now, that there are 2 different things. Title IX is important, but it's ruled by the state interscholastic league, for instance, right? So it's not something you need to worry about all that much, but also this policy as you have it right now is perfectly fine. It's in comportment with RIDE, federal policy, everything else. So messing with it just opens up a can of worms that will just fill this room with people on both sides, and it would get ugly. Lastly, I don't know who everybody in this room is.
We don't know who you are either.
Yeah, I'm Steve, I'm a reporter, and I've been covering this for 2 years or more. I do this full-time. I'm an independent reporter.
What's your
Steve
last?
Alquist, Substack. I'm a Substack. I used to be with Rhode Island Future before, and after that I was with Uprise Rhode Island for many years. This has been not the only thing I do. I also work on issues of homelessness. I work on, well, too much stuff, labor issues, all that stuff, lefty stuff. So just to give up my biases. But I don't know who everybody here is, and I wouldn't mind to have everybody identify themselves because honestly, it's an open meeting, but there's no name tags or anything else. And I think there's only one counselor here, right?
Yeah.
There's only one here.
Yeah.
There's 2 on the committee, but there's only one here. Leah is the other one. I know she's not here. She's kind of running from there, so I knew who she was.
Yep.
But can you identify
Yeah,
yourself?
sure. I'm Darlene Netco. I've been teaching English for 37 years, 35 of which have been in Warwick. I'm president of the Warwick Teachers Union.
Right, cool. Yes,
Ryan Raffanelli, principal, one of the elementary principals at 81 Elementary School.
thank you.
Paul Hubbardton, coordinator of federal programs.
Tracy McDermott, I am a special ed teacher assistant, been with Warwick for 20 years, and I'm the grievance chairperson for the WISE union, so I represent WISE.
Excellent. And I know who you are.
I'm Brandon Ball, I'm the finance director for the district.
Oh, yeah.
Adam Gilman, principal at Windman.
Jeff Taylor, I've been in the district for 22 years. I'm in education for 22 years. I was a math teacher, math department chair, middle school principal here when we were in middle school for 5 years. And now I'm the executive director of accountability, compliance, technology, and innovation.
Thank you very much for everybody for your time here. I don't know if I have anything else to say, just I'll be back here for the next one. And having a lawyer here might be helpful. So I understand why you held it off, but I also have in the past found that when I express an interest and I show up at a meeting, they hold it until the next meeting because they don't want to be doing it in an open meeting. I don't know if that's the case here, but I just want to say that is oftentimes the case for me. I've done this for 12 years and I've seen it,
No.
but I just want to point that out that it is.
You can watch some of our past meetings.
No, I'm fine with it. I'm just saying that, like, I've seen that happen, so I just want to point out that it's great, but it won't actually deter me, so thank you for your
Well,
time.
we don't care.
No, I only ask questions to clarify.
No, that's all.
I
Thank you.
completely agree with
And
that.
everything's in public.
No, I know that. I did listen to it, and the audio was not great.
Is
And
that,
also the people
is
who
that
are
your
the,
tripod?
yes, and also the people are not all on the screen, so you can't, you hear voices, but you don't know who they are because no one's
Yeah.
identified on there. So I hear a lot of voices and I'm figuring it out by little clues, but it was really impossible to figure out like
What's
all
what
the
they
people
can.
speaking on that.
So I guess, yeah,
And when I looked for, examples of the, meeting notes, they weren't available, and, the last one available that I could find was 2021. So
Meeting
whoever's
notes,
keeping,
yeah. I don't think we do that because we use the.
because you have that, so
transcript.
therefore, that video, that's the best I have, and there's no names on there. I don't know who's in the room when they're speaking, and I don't know who's
yeah,
speaking
it
when.
generates a transcript,
I have a transcript, and I
But-
looked at it, but it's not good.
but you're right. The
would
issue
identify the
is most
speaker.
of the transcript, the older ones just say Ann Cecil because she was our chair and it was her Google Meet. So
Yeah,
it's like Ann
I've
Cecil
seen some of that, I
saying,
made my own, but it was still not much better. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Just to, yeah, Jeremy Landell, you all know who I am, I think, but I live just down the road. Anyways, 2 kids at work next. So I think I think that you all should explore the BCI piece in the best way that you can. When I was running Safe Church for the Episcopal Church, not in Rhode Island, we had very strict policies on who could work with children and youth, and that meant regular BCI checks. I forget what we've done, but anyways, it's something to think about. I don't think it's a bad idea. You all can work out the legal language as it relates to contracts, union contracts and so forth. But that was our policy, and it was just, you just never know. So anyways, I would also, I agree. I think, in terms of JBB, obviously RIDE requires a policy to be in place. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's called a protocol or a policy, RIDE requires it. I think more to the point, it's developed by experts. And, I happen to be an expert in some things. Where everyone in this room is an expert in something. And I think, we can all know what it's like, to have our expertise dismissed, by the various shenanigans we find on social media and other places. YouTube is not a research tool, right? It's just YouTube, right? And so I think it matters that in 2018, whatever we did with a protocol or a policy was passed and it was generated by experts, and that matters. Psychologists, medical doctors, psychiatrists, I can go on and on and on, okay? So obviously we want to protect the most vulnerable in our population, and that's just what we need to do. And so for me, this is a non-issue. I'm unclear as to why it's being tabled, but like Steve, I have other things to do, but I'll be here too. So anyways, the other thing too, AI, I really appreciate this policy. I might take pieces of this for my syllabus. If you don't mind, I'm really trying to figure this out too. My solution has been go back to Blue Book. Because I don't know what else to do. We actually, at the university where I teach, we have turned it in, but it doesn't catch AI. So I didn't know that that is, I need to explore that more because our IT department told us that Turnitin doesn't catch it.
Yeah, I believe
they're working on it.
There might be a separate module on Turnitin, but I know that at last about a year ago, they were developing
Great.
Turnitin module.
So,
But my point more about Turnitin was how Turnitin works behind the scenes is by using some AI code.
sure, yeah, I accept the reality that it's operating behind the scenes. I just,
I think it can catch or will be catching it soon.
yeah, great. So this is great. I really appreciated this, and I was going to take this home with me because I don't want to be scared of AI. And I also, as a person who requires students to write papers and do their own original research at the undergraduate level, I'm also grappling with how do we actually do this in a way that we don't cut our knees off, but also, like, if it could mow my lawn, I'd be okay with that. I don't want it to turn into my students' papers,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay,
Got it.
thanks.
It's a great idea.
I'm okay with that.
Before we adjourn, do you mind, actually, to your point, and I'm thinking, as I'm looking at this JVB, there aren't any changes to it. So why did we bring it up?
I was asked to hold, why?
Why are we holding it?
So first it was asked to come back to the table after the last meeting. Ms. Kirby Chapman asked us to do that. And then it was being held because you were told by
Andrew.
to hold it.
Okay, because there aren't any changes on it.
Because, right.
No, we
This is
didn't
what
do
we're
it.
supposed to do.
It was
We're
gonna
supposed to do
review
that
it.
today.
Okay.
see if we can find equitable ways.
Got it.
Changes.
There's two sides
Okay,
to certain topics. And it was trying to see if we could find a happy medium somewhere.
okay, so this is a discussion to come forward. Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
But it's
Because
been
typically we
all-
get it and there's sort of other
Edited.
changes and edited and we discuss
So
it. That's why I wasn't.
That's sort of like in my head what a review would be. I was asked to bring it
Yes.
forward. I didn't really, it just was kind of reworked. And so this committee, and if we didn't make any changes,
Got
it
it.
would go in the review folder to me. That's what I thought.
And that's why I was initially confused because there were no changes on it. And then when I
Okay.
went back and looked, it was listed as a
But I-
protocol
I'm
and not a
also
policy.
not
So
a
I don't know. Okay. Got it. So we're going to talk next time. then.
Yes,
Is that what we're saying?
that's what we
Got
got.
it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, then that ends it. Next meeting is Tuesday, December 3rd at 4:30.
I make
No
a motion
November
to
meeting?
adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Right.
And that concludes it.